Hi students, today's EVS class is on natural resources. So we have different types of natural resources. Everyone are aware about natural resources, right? So forest, water, minerals, food, cultivars, energies and land are some of the natural resources which you. So basically when you go for natural resources is defined as the environment is everything which surrounds on the organisms and influence its life in many ways. Okay, suppose we are the human beings are living on the earth. Okay, so we have different natural resources like air, water, light, plants. So we use all these natural resources for our daily needs. Okay, basically these natural resources are classified into two. One is physical and biological components. Okay, these physical components are existing in the environment are soil, water, air, light and temperature. These are also called as abiotic components or living organisms, non-living organisms. Sorry, non-living organisms. Whereas the plants, animals and other creatures, so these are all called as living organisms or biotic components. Okay, all these components work together, interact and modify the effect of one another. You know the cycle, right? So of a human being, insect starts eating the grass and the insects are eaten by small birds. So this cycle goes on in a process such that each and every animal depends on one another. Okay, and we all depend on the natural resources. So the basic needs of life are fulfilled by minerals present in the nature and referred to as the natural resources. So these are different natural resources. So these natural resources are classified based on different categories. What are the importance and how we use these natural resources is we should minimally use the natural resources and see to it that we are using it for the next generation. Okay, so what are the natural resources which we use generally in our daily life is the main resources is water. Okay, so if you go for water is used in multi-purpose, whereas it is used for drinking, it is used for domestic purpose, it is used for irrigation purpose, and it is used for fishing, and it is used in industries and used for generating power, etc., etc. So these water are natural resources. Totally on our earth we have 70%, 60 to 70% of water, but all the water, whatever it is available on the earth, it is not used for drinking. Okay, or used for cultivation of agriculture. Only some part, that is hardly 3 to 5% of the water is used for cultivation, drinking and our needs. Okay, so remaining all water is totally filled with salty water, that is sea water. So whatever the resources which are available, we should use it in an effective manner and in an economical way such that it can be procured for the future generations or it can be preserved for the future generations. Similarly as coal, okay, and forest, etc. So whereas resources cannot be shifted from one area to other area, right? So we should use these resources in a minimal way and it should be transported to a minimal distances. If suppose if you take a water or anything, we cannot transfer the water to the desert area and utilize there for an industry, yes or no? So we should construct an industry where the resources are available. So the selection of industrial zone is most important. Based on the resources we go for selection. And availability of natural resources at minimal transportation cost. We should check that if you are going to establish an industry, it should be seen that the industrial area or the resources are required for the industry should be available at minimum distances only, and integral usage of natural resources to obtain long-term economical advantages. See, whatever the resources, we should use it in a best manner, in a advanced manner, so that the material is used in a lesser quantity and it gives more effectiveness, and that should be economical condition, so that the material can be preserved for long period of time. Okay, that is the main motto of this, because once the natural resources are exhausted, we don't have those resources, we are supposed to depend on other things. If suppose living and beings are there, some animals have been extinct, so they are not available, those breed of animals are not available. If you want to see those breeds also, it is only limited to photos. So that is why whatever the resources or the natural material is available, that we should not use it to maximum extent such that they vanish out. Okay, and next, what are the material of or the natural resource we are using, it should be used for longer period of time. So next, classification of natural resources. So natural resources are classified based on origin, availability, distribution, and source chemical components. Okay, so now we'll go for origin. As we have discussed at the starting, based on origin there are two types. One is biotic and abiotic. Biotic comes under living organisms, and abiotic comes under non-living organisms. Okay, so living organisms, plants, animals, insects, and every living being on the earth comes under biotic organisms, whereas non-biotic organisms are soil, water, light, temperature, okay, air. These are all non-living organisms. Okay, and based on the availability, inexhaustible and exhaustible. If the material is getting exhausted, so this is called as exhaustible. That is, if there is no process of regeneration, that is, if the product cannot be generated, or it is generated, or it is produced in a smaller rate. Okay, or the process of reproduction for the material is slow, so we cannot use those resources for longer period of time. So these are called as exhaustible resources. Okay, best example is our forest. If we go for forest, there are bigger trees which have developed. Okay, so these forest cannot be existing for longer period of time if we go on deforesting. Okay, if you see a tree which is bigger in size, it takes about nearly 10 years or 15 years or more than that to become into such a size. If we once cut off those tree, again we need to wait for another 15 years or 10 years or more than that for to get such trees. Yes or no? So these are the slow process of productions, whereas but there is a chance of having these resources, whereas inexhaustible resources are resources which cannot be exhausted. Okay, if we use it in the maximum levels also, these resources cannot be exhaustible. Simple ways, the air. Okay, air and temperature, and you can take it as well as water also. But these materials cannot be exhausted, but it can become unpurified. It can become polluted or unpurified due to the man-made effects or any natural or man-made effects. Okay, so these are based on the availabilities. Next, based on distribution, omnipresent and location based. So omnipresent is found everywhere. See, if you go for resources like water, plants, everything, these are found in everywhere. Whereas if you go for rock or minerals or some sort of soils, these are only present at prior locations like diamonds or gold or iron or bauxite. These are all the minerals and rocks which are available in the ground surfaces. So these cannot be available wherever we require. Example, or limestone. So these materials, whichever I said you, they come under location based. So these materials should be bought from there, or if you want to establish an industry, we should establish the industry near those locations only. Whereas omnipresent is water. You have availability of water wherever you have on the ground. Yes or no? And you can grow soil is available plentifully. Okay, so basically if you go for classifications into rock is available, but if you want to go for classifications into rocks, it is only possible based on the priority. Okay, rock is available in Hyderabad and surrounding areas wherever you go, but if you want to get marble type of rock, it is not available here. We need to go some Rajasthan or other places. Okay, this is the location based. Okay, when you go into priority, that is depth into a particular material, then it comes to location based, whereas in a normal condition it comes in omnipresence. Okay, next, based on sources, water sources, forest resources, mineral resources, marine resources. See, water resources are the normal water. You can have water through different ways. Yes, sir. Through rains you can have water, through rivers, ponds, storage reservoirs, dams, etc. Water can be available in different types. Yes, sir. Through different sources. Okay, whereas forest trees are also, you can, if you go for developing trees and make it into a group for a longer large area, then it becomes a forest range. Whereas mineral resources are available in the ground at hilly areas majorly. Okay, and rocks, minerals, whatever it is, these comes under, or if you go you do minings, right, whatever the material you get from minings, those are all comes under mineral resources. Okay, marine resources are the resources which we get in the under the water. Okay, in the seas, oceans, or under rivers, like fish. Okay, aquatic animals. Okay, and some foods, chemicals, and from medicinal trees, whatever you find in marine, that is under the water. So these are all comes under marine resources. These resources are only available under water. Okay, based on chemical composition. So on chemical composition we have three. One is organic, next one is inorganic, and mixed. Organics comes under vegetables, animals, bacteria, mineral, oil. Whereas inorganic comes under air, water, and minerals. And mixed comes under land. Land has multiple number of materials. It consists of organic as well as inorganic. Soil, it is a material which is inorganic, but it exists lot of lakhs of bacteria in it. Okay, so that is an example of mixed sort of thing. And as you know, organics are vegetables, animals, bacteria, and mineral oils like crude oils or etc. etc. Inorganics are air, water, and minerals. Coming to forest, the land area where the vegetation are grown naturally in groups is known as a forest. Vegetation means trees, shrubs, creeps or any woody vegetation having a close combat. So this is a forest. So classification of Indian forests: evergreen forest, deciduous forest, dry forest, mountain or hilly forest, tidal forest. Reasons of deforestation. So what are the reasons for deforestation? Mainly we require land. To use that land we go for deforestation, or if any material is available under the ground surface of that forest area, then you use for obtaining raw materials for industry. And you use deforestation, that is wood, you to get it, okay, obtain the wood for fire, timber for furniture or for construction purpose, for developing the mineral industry. If you have minerals under the ground, then you go for deforestation in that area, or mining. Recently we have a Nallamalla forest region go for attacking, right? Mine due to mining, that is a mineral industry where you are going for mining over there, and mineral industry you are establishing. So that is an example for deforestation. Okay, for constructing projects on rivers. So if you want to go construct a bridge or anything else across a river, or if you want to go for constructing a roads, so you go for deforesting between two areas or localities. Next, for expanding agricultural lands. If you want to go for cultivation, if there is no land, then you go for deforestation. For the purpose of constructing the roads, as I said, for establishing industries, for the construction of railway tracks, human accommodation, that is if you want to construct a house or building or anything else, then you occupy the land, which is, if you don't have land availability, then you go for expanding into the forest, and then you go for deforestation. Overgrazing of forest by livestock, that is if the resources, whatever land or the availabilities are not enough for the, or the spaciousness is not enough at the area, then you go for occupying the forest area and the livestock whichever are available over there. Destruction of insects and pests. So if you go for deforestation, then you go for killing the insects, animals and pests, everything. Or some insects are available in the forest which will go for spoiling the forest. Or you can have just few months back we had a attack on forest, that is fire attacks, okay, and at Amazon forest. So that is one of the cause due to deforestation. Or you know that insects affect the or attack on trees or plants, so that what happens, these bacteria or insects whichever are attacking those trees will kill away the living the trees, and then it goes for some sort of deforestation, but it is a minor thing, that is a natural process. Next, extreme weather conditions. If suppose you have floods or heavy drought, if you have a flood or a drought, what happens? Due to excess water, you go for the loss of soil erosion and deforestation. If you don't have water, then the plants cannot grow, and in that way it goes for a deforestation. Okay. Next, threats associated with deforestation. If you go for deforestation, what are the threats we are going to have? Increase in possibilities of flash flood. Okay, excuse me. Increase in possibilities of flash flood, that is if the natural food whatever is is bought from the forest, if it is not available, then we are supposed to go for cultivating in a chemical manner. That is, if you go for fruits or medicinals, previously you used to go for forest, and then the olden days they used to get the medicine from the, or you call it as Ayurvedic. Nowadays we are using capsules or tablets or different ways, okay, and which are not effective in manner. Next, decreasing rainfall. Obviously, if the forest is not available, or atmospheric temperature will not happen, and then you don't have any proper rains. Okay, increasing temperature, atmospheric temperature. Obviously, if the forest is not available, or as I said you, the clouds will not fall or rains will not have. So if we don't have rains, obviously the ground gets heated and heated, then due to that we have the changes in atmospheric temperature. Increase in amount of soil erosion. So if you have trees, then what happens is the trees holds the soil tightly with their roots. Okay, if you don't have soil trees, obviously the soils, if you have any floods or erosions or what you say, air blows, so what happens is soil on the topmost layer goes flooded off. Okay, and then it leads to soil erosion. So migration of tribal population leads to mental frustrations. Okay, so based on the forest and the tree, what are the plants available in the forest, so from them, so since so many years tribals will exist. If the forests are cut off and there is no forest, so there will be no source of their income, so the tribals will move to the urban areas or rural areas nearby that, and then it will lead to mental frustrations. Okay, next, extinction of some useful medicinal species. As I said, we don't get any medical plants or anything if you go. So shelter problems for forest animals will increase. Sorry. So if we wild animals and domestic and wild animals, or whatever the animals which are existing in forest, if we go for deforestation, what happens? They don't have shelter for them, so they run into the rural areas. Example, if you go for areas near the forest, due to deforestation, you can see lot of monkeys coming on to cities, okay, and the local areas where there is availability of forest, because monkeys don't find any trees in the forest to have their food. Okay, so what happens? They rush into the villages nearby and areas nearby. Okay, so recently we had an attack in Amazon forest, that is due to fire. Okay, there what happened? The Amazon forest is the thickest forest in the whole world. Okay, so there we have different medical species. Okay, and lots of animals are there, which are living in that forest, and so many tribals near the cities are, sorry, near in the forest are living based on this. So these are some of the losses which they face when they have such sort of failures. Next, atmosphere will become adverse and desertification of forest and agricultural lands. So it becomes into form of deserts and forest dwellings will happen. Problem of survival decreases in population of animal species, increases chain of cyclones due to climatic changes. So these are some of the threats associated with deforestation. So next class we will continue on, okay, the next needs and conservations of forest. Okay, thank you.